The massive Karzak warships appeared without warning in Earth's atmosphere, 7 obsidian monoliths that defied physics as they hovered motionless above New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, New Delhi, Sao Paulo, and Cairo. They cast enormous shadows, plunging portions of each city into artificial night. Smaller scout vessels positioned themselves above another 30 major population centers within minutes. Commander Villain stood on the command deck of the flagship Inevitable Dominance, 6 violet eyes blinking independently as he observed the primitive planet through the ship's quantum imaging system. His scaled skin rippled with anticipation. The ceremony of subjugation was his favorite part of integration missions. Civilization assessment complete, Commander, reported Science Officer Threll, her tendrils flickering with data transmissions. Primitive fission technology, nascent fusion capabilities, rudimentary space exploration limited to their planetary satellite and neighboring world. Approximately 200 years pre-Concordat eligibility. Villain's mouthparts clicked in amusement. Another simple integration, then. Broadcast the standard greeting across all their electromagnetic spectrum. Let us see how quickly they panic. The bridge crew expertly manipulated the ship's systems, preparing the message that had broken the will of 17 species before. A message carefully designed by xenopsychologists to trigger primal fear responses while demonstrating technological superiority. Interesting, muttered Tactical Officer Krendar, his attention fixed on secondary displays. Their military forces aren't scrambling randomly. Explain, commanded Villain, 4 of his eyes swiveling toward the junior officer. They're deploying in patterns, coordinated patterns, almost as if they were expecting us. Villain finished, mandibles clicking with skepticism. Impossible. We've monitored their transmissions for decades. They still debate whether intelligent life exists beyond their world. The standard greeting, a precisely calibrated display of mathematical sequences proving advanced intelligence, followed by demands for submission, transmitted to Earth. The bridge crew waited for the inevitable panicked responses, the chaotic military mobilization, the frightened pleas from government officials. Instead, something unprecedented happened. Earth responded simultaneously in 27 different languages, the message identical in each. We've been expecting you. Villain's exoskeleton stiffened in surprise. Before he could respond, Tactical Officer Krendar shouted. Energy surge detected planet-wide. Across Earth, city lights extinguished in perfect synchronization. Power grids went dark from Tokyo to Toronto, from Sydney to Stockholm. For exactly 9.2 seconds, the planet appeared to surrender to darkness. Then, deep beneath the surface, in mountains, deserts, and ocean floors, facilities unknown to the public consciousness hummed to life. Systems designed and built in absolute secrecy activated. In the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, General Eva Rodriguez watched as decades of preparation finally found purpose. Phoenix Protocol activated, she announced to the assembled military and scientific leaders. All defensive systems online. Countermeasures deployed. On the viewing screen, a digital countdown began as thousands of objects, previously disguised as defunct satellites and space debris, suddenly activated around the alien fleet. The Karzak had expected fear. They had expected submission. They were about to experience regret. Commander Villain's mandibles clicked rapidly, an involuntary sign of Karzak agitation. His 6 eyes narrowed as the main view screen displayed thousands of small objects suddenly activating around Earth's orbit. What are those primitive devices? He demanded, voice resonating with harmonics indicating supreme authority. Unknown, Commander, Tactical Officer Krendar replied, his exoskeleton paling slightly. They were masked as non-functional satellites and debris. Our scans missed them. Impossible. Violon hissed. Implement the standard subjugation protocol. Target the island nation's eastern metropolitan center. Broadcast planet-wide. The weapons officer activated the primary disintegration beam, targeting Osaka. Throughout Earth, all communication devices, from smartphones to television screens, were hijacked to display the imminent destruction. This psychological tactic had broken civilizations before, forcing a species to witness their helplessness. The beam fired, a blinding purple-white energy lance that sliced through the atmosphere toward the city of 19 million souls. Then something unprecedented happened. The beam struck an invisible barrier 10 kilometers above the city and dissipated in a spectacular aurora display. The shield, completely invisible until impact, rippled with iridescent energy before fading from view. Silence fell across the Karzak command bridge. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eliza Rice watched the shield performance data with barely contained excitement. 15 years ago, as a graduate student, she had detected patterns in what others dismissed as cosmic background radiation. Those patterns were alien communications, and she had spent her career deciphering them, learning Karzak tactics and technologies from their own transmissions. The gravitational inversion shield is holding at 97% capacity, she reported. They have no idea we've been studying them for decades. Beside her, retired Colonel Mahmoud Hassan nodded grimly. 78 years of preparation. Since Roswell. In the adjoining command center, world leaders watched via secure quantum-encrypted channels as General Rodriguez initiated the next phase of the Phoenix Protocol. Activate the Artemis defense grid, she ordered. In orbit, thousands of microsatellites, each no larger than a coffee can, suddenly propelled themselves toward the alien fleet. Powered by miniaturized fusion engines and equipped with directed energy weapons reverse-engineered from the 1947 crash, they swarmed like mechanical insects. Aboard the Asterisk, Inevitable Dominance Asterisk, alarms shrieked. Incoming projectiles. Krendar shouted. Energy signatures. Impossible. They're using modified versions of our own weapons technology. 3 Karzak vessels erupted in flames as the microsatellites targeted their propulsion systems with surgical precision. The alien ships, designed to intimidate through size and power, had never needed substantial defensive capabilities against primitives. Commander Villen's exoskeleton flushed dark purple with rage. How is this possible? They're centuries from achieving this technology. On Earth, Colonel Hassan addressed the stunned world leaders. In 1947, a Karzak scout ship crashed in New Mexico. We've been preparing for this day ever since. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to humanity's greatest secret and our best hope for survival. High Commander Zexra's arrival from the Karzak mothership cast the command bridge of the Inevitable Dominance into immediate silence. Standing nearly 3 meters tall with an exoskeleton of burnished copper black, he towered over Commander Villen, who instinctively lowered his eye stalks in deference. 13 vessels lost to a pre-spacefaring species, Zexra's voice reverberated, the harmonic undertones expressing disgust. The Concordat High Council demands explanation. Villen's mandibles trembled. The humans possess technology they should not have. Derivatives of our own systems. We believe. I care nothing for your beliefs, Zexra interrupted. I care for results. He turned to the tactical display showing Earth rotating below. Deploy the Void Spore. Sterilize this infection. Even Villen flinched. The Void Spore had rendered 3 previous civilizations extinct when they'd shown unexpected resistance. The bioweapon was the Concordat's most closely guarded secret, a self-replicating pathogen that targeted neural systems of carbon-based life. From the mothership, thousands of iridescent black canisters dispersed, entering Earth's atmosphere like a meteor shower of extinction. They burst at precisely calculated altitudes, releasing a fine obsidian mist that began descending toward population centers. At the CDC headquarters in Atlanta, Dr. Amara Okafor studied the alien pathogen through an electron microscope with growing amazement rather than fear. It's attempting to bond with our neural receptors, she explained to the Emergency Scientific Council. But our immune systems are recognizing it as an invader. How is that possible? Demanded the French representative. An alien biological weapon should be completely unknown to human physiology. Dr. Okafor smiled. Because Earth is special. Our planet has produced more pathogens than anywhere the Karzak have encountered before. Our immune systems evolved under constant assault from thousands of viruses, bacteria, and fungi. We're the galactic equivalent of those Australian animals everyone's afraid of. We survived on the most biologically competitive planet they've ever encountered. In orbit, Captain Mikhail Petrov piloted the EDS Reckoning, Earth's first true warship, constructed in secret beneath the lunar surface using reverse-engineered alien technology. The vessel, camouflaged against background radiation, approached the Karzak mothership. "We're in position," Petrov reported, his voice steady despite the suicide nature of his mission. "Preparing to deploy the package." Dr. Okafor's voice responded through the quantum-encrypted channel. "Remember, Captain, this isn't a traditional weapon. My modified probiotic won't kill them. It'll do something far more devastating to a hive mind species." On the Karzak mothership, High Commander Zexra received disturbing reports. The Void Spore was proving ineffective against human physiology. Before he could order a conventional orbital bombardment, proximity alarms blared. The EDS Reckoning materialized directly alongside the mothership, its magnetic grapples securing it to the alien hull. Captain Petrov initiated the delivery sequence before transmitting his final message to Earth: for humanity. The delivery pods punctured the mothership's hull, releasing Dr. Okafor's creation into the Karzak life support systems, a modified human probiotic designed to colonize the aliens' neural pathways and disrupt their telepathic connection to the hive mind. For the first time in 40 millennia, individual Karzak were about to experience something terrifying: independence. On the Karzak mothership, chaos erupted. Crew members collapsed, their neural filaments flaring with unprecedented activity as Dr. Okafor's modified probiotic colonized their sensitive telepathic receptors. The microorganism, engineered from human gut bacteria, didn't kill its hosts. Instead, it created a microscopic barrier between individual neurons and the central telepathic frequency that had united the species for millennia. High Commander Zexra clutched his head crest in agony as the collective consciousness that had been his birthright fragmented into terrifying isolation. For the first time, he could not feel the thoughts of his subordinates, could not sense the guiding presence of the Concordat Overmind. "What is happening?" he gasped, each word formed individually, a concept alien to a species that communicated primarily through shared thought. Meanwhile, in a fortified bunker beneath Silicon Valley, intelligence officer Maya Santos executed the second phase of humanity's counterattack. The 29-year-old former hacking prodigy had a rare form of synesthesia that allowed her to visualize data patterns as three-dimensional structures, an ability that had made her uniquely qualified to crack the Karzak quantum communication protocols. Their network architecture is based on a 27-dimensional matrix, she explained to the military observers as her fingers danced across specialized interfaces. But they never considered that someone would attack it from outside their conceptual framework. On her neural-linked display, the alien communication network appeared as a vast crystalline structure. Maya inserted her carefully crafted algorithm, not a destructive virus, but something far more insidious. "What exactly are you deploying?" asked General Rodriguez through the secure link. Maya's lips curved into a slight smile. "Culture, Mom." Across the Karzak fleet, communication systems that once transmitted tactical orders and hive mind reinforcement suddenly flooded with something the aliens had never experienced: human artistic expression. Vessels resonated with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, Bach's Brandenburg concertos, traditional throats singing from tuba, West African talking drums, Aretha Franklin's Respect, and thousands of other carefully selected pieces. The effect on the Karzak was devastating. Their auditory organs, evolved for the precise harmonic frequencies of their own communication, were overwhelmed by the emotional complexity and rhythmic diversity of human music. More importantly, the sounds triggered something unprecedented in their neurology. individual emotional responses. In the CDC lab, Dr. Okafor monitored data from nanoprobes that had piggybacked on her probiotic. "It's working better than we anticipated," she reported. "The music isn't just disorienting them, it's forming new neural pathways. Their hive mind structure is being permanently altered." On the command bridge of the Inevitable Dominance Commander Villan watched in horror as his crew responded differently to the human transmission, some swaying in apparent pleasure, others covering their auditory receptors in distress. Worse still, the infected Karzak were beginning to speak aloud to each other, forming verbal language spontaneously as their telepathic connection faltered. "Stop this," he ordered, but his voice no longer carried the harmonic overtones of authority. For the first time in his existence, Commander Villan experienced a uniquely human emotion: doubt. And throughout the fleet, the contagion of individuality spread, a weapon more devastating to the Karzak than any bomb could have been. Colonel Hiroshi Tanaka had spent 15 years of his life preparing for this mission. The former Japanese Special Forces commander now led Task Force Chimera, 12 elite operators from 8 different nations, each selected for specific skills and psychological resilience. Their insertion craft, reverse-engineered from Roswell technology, approached the disoriented Karzak flagship under perfect stealth. "Cloaking field stable," reported Lieutenant Devi Singh, the team's technical specialist. "Their sensors are still scrambled from Santo's attack." Tanaka nodded, his weathered face illuminated by the craft's dim blue lighting. "Remember, we need the commander alive. The neural map in his primary ganglion is our target." The team wore combat suits unlike anything publicly known to exist on Earth, reactive camouflage, incorporating both advanced metamaterials and biological components, cultured from the 1947 crash specimens. They moved like shadows through the quantum breach they'd created in the flagship's hull. Inside, the Karzak vessel resembled something between machine and organism. Corridors pulsed with bioluminescent fluid flowing through transparent conduits. Surfaces that appeared metallic responded to touch like living tissue. The air carried an electric scent of ozone and something reminiscent of cinnamon. "Movement ahead," whispered Sergeant Anna Fuentes, the team's point scout. 3 hostiles, disoriented. The Karzak crew members staggered through the corridor, mandibles clicking in distress as they vocalized to each other, a behavior unprecedented in their species' history. The human team slipped past undetected, heading toward the command center where their intelligence indicated Commander Villan would be located. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, the Karzak had deployed ground forces for the first time, a last-ditch effort to establish a physical presence on the planet. Their landing site in the Amazon rainforest had been chosen to minimize human resistance while establishing a foothold. They couldn't have chosen worse. Major Camila Rivera and her Brazilian Special Forces unit had been waiting. Unlike conventional military forces, Rivera's team consisted of indigenous scouts, environmental scientists, and special operators who knew how to weaponize the jungle itself. They're moving in standard geometric formation, Rivera observed through her binoculars as the alien troops disembarked. No adaptation to terrain, no scouts. The Karzak, accustomed to the sterile environments of spacecraft and the urban centers of conquered worlds, found themselves in humanity's oldest battlefield, wilderness. They marched in perfect formation, their biosuits struggling to compensate for the overwhelming sensory input of Earth's most diverse ecosystem. Rivera gave the signal. Her team triggered the prepared terrain traps, not high explosives or gunfire, but the jungle itself. Carefully engineered pheromone packets burst near the aliens, attracting swarms of Amazonian insects, modified plant spores that clung to the aliens' breathing apparatus, sonic emitters that mimicked the distress calls of predator species. The Karzak formation dissolved into chaos as their environment became a weapon against them. Back on the flagship, Colonel Tanaka's team breached the command center, quickly neutralizing the disoriented crew. They found Commander Villan sitting motionless in his control interface, Neural filaments extended into the ship's systems. As they secured him, Tanaka noticed something disturbing. Black tendrils emerging from the commander's exoskeleton, pulsing with a rhythm distinctly different from the Karzak's own biological systems. "Sir," Lieutenant Singh whispered, scanner hovering over the unconscious alien. "The commander, he's being controlled by something else." The secured command center of the Karzak flagship hummed with an unnatural silence as Colonel Tanaka's team established a quantum link to Earth. Commander Villain lay immobilized on his own neural interface platform, the black tendrils pulsing beneath his exoskeleton like living circuitry. "Transmission secure," Lieutenant Singh confirmed, her fingers dancing across adapted alien controls. "CDC and intelligence are receiving our feed." On screens around the world, military and scientific leaders observed the disturbing image of the Karzak commander. Dr. Okafor's face paled as she studied the biological data. "Those filaments aren't Karzak," she announced. "They're composed of an entirely different cellular structure, like a biological transmission system implanted inside him." Professor James Rodriguez, the xenobiologist who had dedicated his career to studying the Roswell materials, leaned forward in his wheelchair. "We need access to their historical archives. If the Karzak are merely puppets, we need to know who's pulling the strings." Lieutenant Singh deployed specialized decryption modules into the ship's biological computer core. The system, part machine, part living tissue, resisted briefly before the carefully engineered exploits bypassed its defenses. Data streams flowed through the quantum link to Earth's secure servers. Rodriguez directed the analysis algorithms he prepared for decades, searching for patterns that might reveal the truth. His eyes widened as the translation matrix assembled a coherent narrative from fragments of data. "My God," he whispered, "the Karzak aren't conquerors, they're slaves." The archive data revealed the horrifying truth. Nearly 8,000 years ago, the Karzak had been a peaceful, artistic species until they encountered the HFY, ancient entities that existed partially in higher dimensional space. The HFY had subjugated the Karzak, not through warfare, but through neural parasitism, transforming an entire species into their proxies in normal spacetime. "They harvest neural complexity," Rodriguez explained to the stunned global leadership. "The Concordat isn't a galactic government, it's a farm. The integration process extracts a percentage of each conquered species for ascension, essentially brain harvesting." In the secured chamber of the flagship, Commander Villain suddenly convulsed. The black tendrils beneath his exoskeleton writhed and expanded, rupturing through his carapace in a spray of iridescent fluid. His body contorted unnaturally as something emerged from within, a shifting, multi-dimensional entity that seemed to bend light around it. "Neural link terminated," Singh reported urgently. "Unknown energy signature detected." The entity hovering above Villain's broken body pulsed with colors that human eyes weren't designed to process. When it spoke, the sound bypassed their ears and manifested directly in their minds. "We are HFY," it communicated. "Your species represents the richest neural harvest we have discovered in millennia. Your resistance is unprecedented, but ultimately irrelevant." The entity's presence distorted the physical space around it, causing nausea among the human team as their brains struggled to interpret its extra-dimensional aspects. "Our world breaker approaches. You have one planetary rotation to prepare your species for harvesting. The alternative is extinction." The entity collapsed into itself, vanishing with a reality-bending implosion that knocked the entire team unconscious. In Earth's orbit, sensors detected a massive dimensional disturbance as something impossibly large began to emerge from hyperspace. The HFY planet killer. The planet killer emerged fully into normal space, a mechanical organic hybrid structure larger than Earth's moon. Its surface writhed with technological cancers and dimensional anomalies that hurt human eyes to observe directly. Sensors across Earth's defense network struggled to maintain focus on the monstrosity as it settled into position just beyond lunar orbit. In the United Nations Emergency Command Center, World leaders watched in horrified silence. General Rodriguez finally broke the tension. Evacuation protocols are pointless against that thing. We fight, or we die. Dr. Eliza Reyes, monitoring deep space telemetry, suddenly straightened. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. More incoming vessels. Screens showed dozens of rifts opening throughout the solar system. Defensive systems automatically targeted the new arrivals, but Maya Santos countermanded the attack order. Wait, those aren't Soul Caviar configurations. The first vessel to fully materialize bore markings unlike anything seen before. Geometric patterns in green and silver. It broadcast on all frequencies, using a crude approximation of human language synthesized from intercepted transmissions. Earth Defenders. We are Kulprax. We monitor your resistance. We bring alliance. More ships emerge, vessels of wildly different configurations representing species from across the Concordat, the insectoid Vex in their crystalline hives, the gaseous Moradian collective in their containment spheres, even a contingent of rebel Karzak, their neural parasites removed by adaptations of Dr. Okuffer's treatment. In the hastily established communication hub, Dr. Rice worked frantically to create translation protocols between species that had never before communicated directly. Her team deployed specialized neural interfaces to bridge the vast biological gaps. They've all been monitoring our fight, she explained to the assembled leaders. When Maya transmitted the whole Caver truth to the conquered worlds, it triggered rebellions throughout the Concordat. We're not alone anymore. The representatives of 17 species gathered virtually, some physically incompatible with Earth's environment, others represented by holographic avatars. The Kulprax emissary, a crustacean-like being with iridescent eyes, addressed the assembly. Your resistance inspired impossibility. For 12,000 cycles, we believed Soul Caviar gods. You showed their vulnerability. From the science division, 15-year-old mathematical prodigy, Zhen Wei requested emergency access to the conference. The Chinese teenager had been analyzing the dimensional properties of the planet Killer using his unique approach to non-Euclidean geometry. The planet Killer exists partially in higher dimensions, he explained, displaying complex equations that few in the room fully understood. But there's a flaw in its structure, a dimensional weak point where its mass converges through normal space. Colonel Tanaka, recently evacuated from the Karzak flagship, studied the target coordinates. A strike team could reach that point, but we'd need to distract their defenses. The Vex ambassador's mandibles clicked as their translator rendered their proposal. We bring biotechnology to enhance your shields. Moradians offer dimensional stabilizers. Kulprax provide weapons that disrupt Soul Caviar neural networks. For the first time, hope flickered in the room. Not merely for survival, but for victory. We need to coordinate the most complex military operation in human history, General Rodriguez stated, with species we just met, against an enemy that exists in dimensions we barely comprehend. Colonel Tanaka nodded grimly. Then we'd better get started. The combined fleet of Earth and its newfound allies engaged the Soul Caviar forces in a battle that stretched across the solar system. Human ingenuity married with alien technologies created unprecedented offensive capabilities. Kulprax shield harmonics protected Earth vessels from dimensional attacks. Vex bioweapons disrupted the enemy's neural networks. Rebel Karzak provided critical intelligence on Soul Caviar tactical patterns. Colonel Tanaka led the multi-species strike team toward the planet Killer aboard the Defiance *, a hybrid vessel combining 17 different technologies. The team included specialists from each allied species alongside Earth's elite operators. Their target, the dimensional convergence point identified by young Zhen Wei. Approaching insertion coordinates, Lieutenant Singh reported, her voice steady despite the chaos visible through the viewports. Dimensional distortion at predicted levels. Outside, Captain Kira Chen's battle group provided covering fire, drawing enemy defenders away from the strike team's approach vector. Her flagship, the Tenacity took a direct hit from a Sol-Kavir energy lance. Engine core compromised, her tactical officer reported. 2 minutes to containment failure. Chen's expression remained resolute as she opened a channel to Tanaka's team. "We'll give you your opening, Colonel." She switched to fleet-wide communication. "All hands, this is Captain Chen. Prepare for ramming maneuver." The mortally wounded Tenacity accelerated directly toward the Sol-Kavir command node, its failing engines pushed beyond safety parameters. The vessel struck with devastating force, creating the diversion needed for Tanaka's team to slip through to the planet killer's dimensional weak point. Inside the massive weapon, the strike team navigated corridors that defied conventional physics, spaces that looped back on themselves, chambers where gravity operated sideways or in multiple directions simultaneously. They fought through automated defenses and dimensional traps that threatened to scatter their atoms across multiple realities. At the core, they discovered the horrific truth. The planet killer was powered by billions of harvested consciousnesses from conquered worlds, sentient beings reduced to biological batteries, their neural energy feeding the weapon's dimensional disruption capabilities. Dr. Amara Okafor, part of the strike team, studied the biological interfaces with growing horror and determination. "We can't just destroy it. That would kill everyone connected to the system. We need to free them." Working with the Vex biotechnician and Kloprax energy specialist, she modified their original plan. Instead of planting conventional explosives, they deployed an adapted version of Maya's hive mind disruptor, specifically calibrated to break the Sol-Kavir control protocols while preserving the trapped consciousnesses. Initiating sequence, Okafor announced as the team secured the final connections. Beginning neural liberation. The effect cascaded through the planet killer's systems. Billions of imprisoned minds suddenly awakened from their forced servitude. The Sol-Kavir, dependent on this neural network for their existence between dimensions, found their own consciousness fragmented and dispersed as their unwilling power source rebelled. Throughout the solar system, the enemy forces faltered and collapsed. The multi-dimensional entities that had enslaved countless species for millennia discovered a fundamental truth. They had become so dependent on harvested neural complexity that they could no longer sustain their own existence. As the liberated minds were gradually transferred to new artificial substrates, designed by the combined scientific knowledge of 18 species, humanity proposed not a new empire, but a genuine galactic coalition based on self-determination and mutual respect. The stars, once nearly closed to humanity forever, now opened before them, not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals bringing something the galaxy had never truly known before: freedom.